let's talk about creeps in the gym, because they've been a factor for a long time. There's an increasing trend towards calling out their bad behavior and making sure that they don't get away with it. And I follow some of the folks doing this, and I love most of their content, but I come from a slightly different perspective than some of those folks. And I think maybe if I outline my interpretation of what we ought to be thinking about, maybe it'll add some value to the conversation. So here goes. I'll probably start at the 10,000 foot level, and we'll see if I can make it relevant somehow. So let's start with why gym creeps matter. They keep a lot of people from exploring gym environments, and that's a loss for all of us, but especially for the people who are held back by it. And here's my opinion. Everybody deserves a safe and supportive environment where they can move their body in some way that improves their overall health and fitness. And when I say deserve, I know some of you are already clutching your metaphorical pearls, wondering, what do you mean people deserve? Well, people don't deserve anything. Okay, I think as a human being with a body, you deserve places where you can move your body. It's just a birthright. I don't think you have to do anything else to earn it. If you disagree, go ahead and mess it up for other people. That's on you. I'm not interested. So there's that. I think it's pretty obvious that gyms are not the only places people can move, people can exercise, and in fact, they're not a place that everybody wants to be, even if they feel comfortable in them. And there's plenty of options, and not everyone chooses to go to some public space and put themselves on potential display. Okay, but still, there's a lot of value to having an environment where there's specific machinery, specific equipment, and maybe other people for practical support, or even just for a feeling of community. You know, we're, for all that we love to talk about individualism, we're community animals. You look at species that are related to us in the animal kingdom. You know, orangutans are the only ones that are more solitary than us. Most of us collect in small tribes. The gym is no different. Now, there's an awful lot of focus on the specific gender dynamics of a lot of creeping in the gym. A lot of it happens by men to women, and it would be very unwise to stick our heads in the sand and pretend that that's not the case. However, anybody can creep on anybody else. It can happen, it does happen, and gender dynamics aside, it's not a good thing. A lot of people will focus on the issue of so-called provocative clothing as a reason why somebody crept on somebody else, why somebody stared at somebody for too long, or interrupted their set, or interacted with them in a way that wound up being uncomfortable for the recipient. As a queer man, I gotta tell you, this is a bit of a red herring. As a man in gyms, I notice an awful lot of other men dressed quote unquote provocatively. And you wouldn't even necessarily know who it is that I find attractive. Even within the queer community, some of my interests are non-standard. It's still not okay to sit and stare at somebody and make them feel uncomfortable. And sure, I don't always know what's going to be uncomfortable for somebody, but I've been a human being who's been around for a while. We can and do develop a certain feel for it. And the default is easy. The default of just not looking at other people and minding our own business is a pretty good default. I've heard a certain number of straight women and a certain number of queer men talk about how if straight men were subjected to uncomfortable situations a little bit more often, they would develop a feel for why it's not a good thing, and they would stop doing it to others as much. Hey, I mean, I get the idea of retributive justice, you know, payback, and I also get the idea of privilege and why people don't understand why something is damaging until they've had to live through it themselves. And I also have a very close friend who, as a teenager, as a male teenager, was stalked by somebody uncomfortably for a while and had trouble getting out of the situation without feeling overwhelmed. I'm not really prepared to put people through that kind of thing just because it fits some imaginary concept of retributive justice. So guess what? I'm not willing to go there, and I don't think most of us should be. Obviously, there's more to say than just this, but this video is already getting a little bit long, and here I am, provocatively dressed in a public park in London on a chilly fall day, so I'm going to wrap up. But let's just end with one thing. Are there people in the gym who want to be looked at? Yeah, of course. Can you tell which ones they are just by looking? No, you can't. Sorry. You just can't. I know people who would love to be nudists everywhere, and I know people who, well, online acquaintances, who do pole dancing in full modesty garb. You just can't tell. And if that bothers you, sorry, but maybe try growing up and interacting in society as if you're a grown-up. Creeping on people, not appropriate. Gym is for everybody. Maybe you're the one who doesn't belong if you can't understand that. Sorry. One more thing. Our personal comfort and discomfort always matters, but it's never a universal guide to somebody else's behavior, and our assumptions can get in the way. So here's the flip side. Gyms are public spaces. If somebody's looking across the gym to find the next machine they're going to work out on, and their eye line, their gaze crosses yours, that isn't necessarily them creeping on you. I personally have gotten more touchy in public spaces ever since the pandemic. I don't think that's uncommon. Doesn't mean that other people are out to get me. Doesn't mean that other people are trying to make me uncomfortable. And it's important to keep a sense of balance about these things, just like anything else. So do your best not to assume that your personal discomfort with somebody else's behavior is necessarily the same thing as them intending to do something by you. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It is unfortunately possible to become the creep in the gym by policing everybody else so hard for the creeping that you think they're doing. We don't want that either. Gyms are public spaces. A certain amount of negotiating, going along to get along. You don't have to take my word for it. It's just there. There isn't necessarily a way around it, unless you don't want to be in the gym at all, which is 100% valid. 100%. Gyms are not for everybody, and it's okay to take yourself out of the equation if it's legitimately just too overwhelming for you. That's about your health and wellness, and it's okay. Hey fam, if you've made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if this video or any of my others have entertained you, made you smile, taught you something, given you some support on your own journey for mental or physical health and fitness, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if that's too much of a commitment right now, please at least give it a thumbs up. You'd be amazed how much that does for the engagement on a YouTube channel like mine. As I film this, I'm closing in on making my 100th clip. And old-timers on YouTube will tell you that that's probably the minimum you need to get noticed by the algorithm. So I'm hoping as I get to that point and as I close in on 6 months to a year of making these, that the algorithm will start to prioritize me higher. And your thumbs up or a comment or a subscription will bolster that process. I don't object to making money at this, but right now I'm not sponsored. I'm not charging anything. I'm really doing this as a labor of love because of how much benefit I've gotten from this myself. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your attention. Go kick some butt, including your own, in a good way. Love ya.